Sorry, an illegal immigrant named Jorge who got caught selling crack can't be deported because of an executive action. Wah, wah, wah. DACA. That's the top trend today. DACA, 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 DACA. So today, the Trump, why is that there? The Trump administration announced the end of DACA. Now, here's something that's important before we even move on with this, okay? Because the left is trying to go, and I understand they're going to try and paint this as, innocent kids who are here, who've been born and raised here, and oh my gosh, how could you get rid of them? As though this is their line in the sand, as though we can find some common ground, but this is, well, actually, we talked about this not too long ago on this very show. Here's a clip from a while back. Leftists always say, Republicans are the party of no. We want to find common ground. Okay, let's get rid of amnesty before we even get there, or before we even get to anchor babies. I understand that these are issues that need to be discussed. But right here, right now, we are talking about deporting illegal immigrants who are only found exclusively because they got caught committing crimes. How is that? If we can't find common ground there is no common ground to be found. So before we have the DACA conversation, the left wants you to believe that they just can't. Listen, we just, at this point, can't we all come together and care about children? Yeah, but here's the thing. You want us to all come together and make it illegal to deport criminals who are here committing crimes in prison. So let's be really clear here. When you want to talk about open-mindedness, when you want to talk about finding common ground, the left wants to find none. They drew their line with illegal immigration, keyword illegal, long before DACA. And that is, they don't believe in borders, they don't believe in walls, they don't believe in deportation at all, if you look at their policies. With that in mind, let's look through the DACA timeline. 1996, Bill Clinton administration, they passed what was called the Illegal Immigration Reform and Immigration Responsibility Act. So what did that mean? It made it nearly impossible for illegal aliens to get legal status. Of course, that same applied for children that they brought in with them. Now, I understand. I have empathy there. Yeah. These kids didn't do anything wrong, but their parents did. And this was, again, a bungled government policy that wasn't well thought out. And so then we tried to rectify it, and sure enough, when the solution to a government problem is more government intervention, it snowballs, it gets worse. So 2001, the DREAM Act, the children became known as dreamers. That's the term you've heard, dreamers. It comes from this. After the DREAM Act, it was meant to give them a path to citizenship, which was kind of the concept, I think, introduced somewhere in 2001. Now, 2012, this is where DACA actually comes from. Well, for those who don't know, DACA means Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals Program. So, well, who could childhood arrivals? So you're just picturing a bunch of people with signs at the airport. There's Jillian. No. So Congress stalled, and Obama was picked up his pen, and he decided to create DACA. Now, that doesn't provide a path to citizenship, DACA, we need to be clear, but it does protect from deportation and permits these people to work in the United States. Okay. Are we clear on the timeline? Yeah, so that's clear. The timeline as to how DACA came to be. Then it's important, how does the media again, who have said that it is cruel and unconstitutional to deport actively criminal illegal immigrants, how have they painted DACA? Okay, well, Vox called the ending of DACA unprecedented. So right there, it's good. Salon, they wrote about Jeff Sessions. They called him for spreading falsehoods about Dreamers, saying that their criminal records were spotless. We'll talk about that later, and that's because what's the definition of crime? We're a little iffy. We're not. Well, yeah. Slate's pushing the same narrative. Innocent teenagers. Of course, Zuckerberg and other big CEOs are slamming this decision. Okay. So what's wrong with DACA? Why do we have a problem with DACA? The way that President Obama instituted DACA is not how these things are supposed to work. Go back to, talk about Schoolhouse Rock. What three branches of government? Anyone know? Anyone know? Executive? Anyone know? Judicial? Legislative. Okay. DACA, it contravenes, the National Review wrote about this, contravenes just the basic principle that the legislative branch ought to be legislative, meaning pass laws, and the executive branch ought to enforce them, meaning they put the bill on your desk, you sign them. That's your job. That's your executive job. So now DACA rewrote immigration law by unilaterally issued work permits and deportation relief to illegal immigrants. Now, here's what's important when you look at this. Again, that's why the Salon, the Vox, and the Spotless record, this is what the left does. They do it very effectively. The human interest story is in the foreground. And then the facts with the left, on this case, are nowhere to be found or in the background. And I think that I get that that's effective. We'll do that sometimes on this show where you go, okay, listen, here's a personal connection. Here's how people relate to it. And then you deliver the factual information. Here, it's a parlor trick. It's human interest in the foreground so that you don't actually see the facts in the background. Spotless criminal records. Okay, as Ronald Mortensen, the Center for Immigration Studies, he pointed out, most DACA recipients, not some, most of them have committed multiple felonies in order to get jobs. Just among them, social security fraud, forgery, perjury on I-9 forms, falsification of green cards and driver's licenses, identity theft. Now, this matters. Why? Because the left doesn't consider those illegal actions when discussing criminality. So they'll say, these people have a spotless record. What about the social security fraud? Well, we don't count that.
We're going to nitpick everything.
What about creating a false license? They had to do that to get a job. No, this is why. This is what matters. Legal acts versus illegal acts. So if someone just says, well, all the illegal acts that are used to try and rectify the situation of them being here illegally, you can't count that as crime. Well, yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. I don't know. I think, again, social security fraud, forgery, perjury on I-9 forms, falsification of green cards, these things are significant to me. We don't want to round up and get rid of children because I understand. Listen, it's hard to not have your heart go out to these people, especially some kid who didn't do anything wrong. But hey, can we find common ground? Left, can we find common ground? Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Lena Dunham, can we find common ground? All of Hollywood when it comes to, people who are here, who we catch them incidentally committing crimes and they're, well, you don't want to find common ground. That's what's important. These same people who are trying to make it seem as though we're somehow cruel are still believe it to be cruel to deport people who you catch committing a crime. By the way, then they bitch about overcrowded prisons. Something else. This is the idea. This is the parlor trick. It's creating this victim culture of look at these poor kids, and it's a false victim culture because most of them are not poor little kids. That's not who we're really talking about when we're dealing with this. You forget the real victims. Legal immigration has been at a level of about 1 million people per year since the beginning of this century. What about those people? What do you think happens when you just sign with a stroke of a pen? You know what? You're going to be untouchable. You know what? We're not going to deport illegal aliens who are also committing crimes and felonies here because that would be cruel. We're going to bog down the system. We're going to deplete our resources because it's a nice thing to do for people who really have no business being here in the first place. What do you think that does for the people? There are people across the pond. It may not look as good on a postcard. There are people over there. There are people in Italy. There are people in Germany. There are people anywhere across the pond. There are people who want to come over here from Ireland, from rural parts of Ireland where they're down on their luck. There's no economic opportunity. They're looking to the American dream. And guess what they've done? They've filled out the paperwork. They've signed the guest book. They've gone through the process. We're doing it right now with an intern, Sven Computer, who we want to get here. It is very difficult. It is harrowing. Now imagine if you did everything right, you follow the law because you want to come to this country, you want to take your naturalization oath, and you want to become a contributing American, only to get to the end of that tunnel and someone says, sorry, an illegal immigrant named Jorge who got caught selling crack can't be deported because of an executive action. Womp, womp, womp. You're screwing those people. And that's the problem, just going on feelings. I get it. You think of a kid here whose parents brought him in, they used their children, horrible parents, used their children to try and gain legal status, which they don't deserve. I feel bad for that kid. But you can't legislate based on that feeling. You have to think of the other people who you might feel bad for but don't get the same amount of press time. Just like, yeah, I feel bad for the guy with AIDS, but I feel a whole lot worse for the kid who didn't go out and shoot heroin while having gay butt sex in a truck stop, and he was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes and it has nothing to do with his actions. You can't go based solely on feeling. You have to go on what's right, and you have to go on the constitutional parameters of this country and what defines a citizen. And it does seem, again, they don't think it's illegal to lie on these forms. They don't think it's illegal to falsify IDs. It seems like we need to revisit this. We do it we've done this before, but it seems like we need to break down again for you the difference between a legal immigrant and an illegal immigrant.
I'm legal.
And I'm illegal.
I follow the law, respected the process you see.
I just came here illegally.
To some, immigration is nuanced, almost subliminal.
Don't look at me, I'm just a criminal.
I work the skilled trade and pay legal taxes.
I just came here to sell all the cracks.
I came here on a work visa, then took my naturalization oath.
One time, I killed a guy.
It seems you're confused. Let's play a game. You ask if it's legal, then I will explain.
Okay. paying state tax,
Legal.
selling cocaine,
Illegal.
buying a TV,
Legal.
stealing a TV,
Illegal.
protesting the government,
Legal.
killing a guy in the government,
Illegal.
kidnapping you for ransom.
Illegal.
I'm still going to do.
Wait, what?
Hey, this video is taken as a clip from the full show, daily show at louderwithcrowder.com/mugclub, where it's available exclusively $69 a year. That's less than $6 a month, less than 2 expensive cups of coffee, or you can feed an African child. But why would you want to do? Just buy coffee or join the Mug Club. Daily show, louderwithcrowder.com/mugclub. See you there. Don't feed children.